Hello and welcome back to Creative Pet Keeping. My name is Kasha. I am your host, and right now I am about to feed the BETTA mahachaiensis, which is a wild type of betta, although these guys are captive bred. I decided to give you guys a closer look because we haven't looked at them in a while, as well as the excuse me, I'm still sick, as well as the baby betta that I've been raising up from this year's spawn. The only little girl that made it because daddy ate all the eggs. And I'm also kind of cleaning the fish rooms. As you can see, it is starting to be very satisfyingly clean. I moved out all the stuff, vacuuming. It's super satisfying. But you know what? Instead of me rambling, let's just take a closer look at the BETTA mahachai. So I currently have 4 mahachai siblings up here in these 1-gallon containers, as well as 3 more smaller sized ones in here. Of course, they're always hiding because BETTA mahachai, being wild type of bettas, do like to hide. You can actually see one right here. Oh, I'm sorry, I startled you. I think that might be a girly. I'm not really sure. We have another one right over here. Ooh, won't focus. And another one. Can you spot it? He or she thinks they're hiding, but I see you. But you don't think I see you. And then right here is the little baby betta. She is a girl. You can actually see her ovaries pretty clearly. Oh, I'm sorry, I startled you. You could see the white area. That is actually her ovaries, and her egg spot is showing. So although she's a little girl, she's definitely developing. Excuse me. And at this point, I can jar her so I can kind of grow her out a little more and be able to individually feed her. And then if we can take a closer look, oh, there's one peeking right here. So there's another mahachai kind of being pretty friendly over here. I noticed that all these, I think, are boys because we've got a ton of bubble nests and they kind of hang out there. There's one right there. They try to conserve energy and they'll kind of hang out by their bubble nests and guard. There's one right here laying in some plants. You can actually see some of the blue right here, the iridescent color. So he thinks he's also invisible and hiding from the whole world, but he's not, which is kind of why when you are jarring wild type of bettas, it is very highly encouraged that you put as much as you can in their jars, which, by the way, the jars, I have to say, are temporary grow out setups. So these are only for the purpose of growing them out a little bigger before they go off to their new homes, or I decide which ones I'm going to keep. And these kind of setups, they require a lot of work. For starters, unless you heat them, for example, some people use heat tape or called flex swat, or they use reptile heat cables, which you need a thermometer to regulate both of those. So you can heat that way. Excuse me again. Or like me, you can heat an entire room to make sure that everything is nice and toasty. So I have to heat the entire room to make all these jars warm enough. I actually have a thermometer in here just so I can check the temperature. And I also have to do very frequent water changes. So on these 1-gallon jars, because there's a lot of tannins, which is why the water is yellow. These are tannins from Indian almond leaves, and I actually have some leftover ones I haven't used up yet. I was saving those for another water change. So I boil these, and then I use the leaves to kind of put in here so that these guys can kind of hide a little bit in the leaves. If they want to dart inside, it does make them feel a little better. But these guys, I can do about, I noticed about 2 to 3 days without a water change if I am feeding lightly. These guys need to be every other day, get a water change, because this is a much smaller water volume. Preferably, I want to do as many water changes as I can. So I try to do all of these very frequently. It is a pain in the butt, and it's not fun. This looks like it would be a lot easier to have than tanks, but I highly recommend, if you want to keep fish long term, get a tank. It's going to be a lot easier. If you need a short-term setup, this will work as a short-term setup for a grow out or for quarantine, but long term it's too much of a pain in the butt to maintain, at least in my opinion. So I decided to feed these guys to make this more interesting. So we have some frozen brain shrimp that I was thawing, and all I have to do is just kind of remove, not entirely, but kind of move these lids over These guys are jumpers, which is why we have lids everywhere, and I do have holes drilled at the top, so there is access to air. So I'm just gonna open these a little bit, and then we're gonna kind of feed everyone. So I know she's gonna be a lot more willing to eat because she's a chunky girl. Now, as you can see, this seems like a lot of food. And I mean, compared to her, that is. I mean, that's like almost her size. But with frozen foods, they can definitely digest them a lot easier, and it's less likely that they will bloat. So that could be a lot of food. It looks like a lot of food, but really it isn't. That's a good amount. And she will poop it all out the next day. As you can see, she has no problem eating it. She's a hungry little girl. I wanted to say hungry hippo, but she's not a hippo. So this guy's waiting. He's just gonna stare and hope for the best, and then get startled. So with these guys, we may not see them eating. We might. They're really shy. He might think about it. Oh, yep. He's definitely curious and wants to eat. Now he's bigger, so I can feed him a lot more. But I'm gonna see how he's eating first, and then I'm gonna put some more. That one is all the way over there. Hopefully he'll figure it out. I'm gonna add some more here. You can take a closer look at the female. So as you can see where her stomach is. That's the darker section, and then the lighter section is where her ovaries are. So you can kind of see the distance difference. Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm dying. I'm sick. This is difficult. We're gonna feed the bigger guys out here. Now these guys have been jarred, I would say, for the past 2 weeks now. So they've been getting a big head start on growing. I'm going to remove their... Actually, I'm just going to remove the jar lids temporarily. All the jar lids do have holes in them to make sure that they get airflow. We're going to grab some food. And that's a lot of food, by the way. I'm going to feed the rest to my other fish. So don't worry. I'm not going that crazy. So there we go. That is also what they sometimes do. They'll dramatically grab food and hide. Which is why I like having Indian almond leaves. Oh, this one I could just directly oh, never mind. But I'll put some food over here, and then I don't know where this one is. I'm going to show you an example of how good these guys are hiding. So this guy was in a jar. That was the jar that was right here. And I was looking through the whole entire container and I couldn't find the fish. And lo and behold, now he came out. But do you see? Right there? He was hiding completely flat under the leaf. And this is what they do. They're really amazing at hiding. Let's see if we can see him. See? And he's not being squished, so he's completely vertically flat hiding. He's not being squished. He's choosing to do this because, well, some cat litter because my cat jumped up here, but excuse me. He's choosing to do this because it's safe. He feels safe. No one can find him. I found him, but maybe he doesn't know that. So that's why it's important to give them stuff. He enjoys the leaf because he thinks he's hidden. I was paranoid because I thought I couldn't find my fish, because if you look at this is just, normal container. All the leaves are flat. There's no fish, but indeed there's a fish. So I'm just going to leave him alone. He'll come out to eat. He has some food in there. I'm going to put him back on the shelf with his siblings. In regards to the siblings, this is what they look like right now. I kind of moved everything, all the wood, into here. Oh my gosh, the glare! The glare is real, which is just a guppy holding tank. So I can start catching them and kind of seeing their sizes. There's still quite a bit, and I'm actually going to feed them some brine shrimp as well. So we'll get to see them right now. That's kind of the biggest food they can eat at the moment because they're a little too small for bloodworms, but that's their little meal. I figured since I'm showing off the other siblings, it would make sense to show off these guys as well. They're still growing, taking their time. I haven't been very heavily feeding them like I normally would if I wanted to power grow fish out. So these guys have been growing, not the fastest, but still at a good rate. And I'm kind of happy with that because what that means is I can jar the bigger ones and kind of let these guys continue to peacefully grow out with their apparent pleco friend. And I gotta put this back together again, because it looks so sad. But I wanted to give you guys an update on the cute little baby mahachai that are growing out. So to get these guys to properly eat, I will have to turn off the lights, because BETTA mahachai don't really like bright lights. So as you can see, a lot of them didn't eat any of their food yet. So what I gotta do is I gotta do this, and I still have the light on in my fish room, so there's enough light for them to be able to see their food and find their food. But now I gotta give them like half an hour to get more comfortable and like come out so they can do a little hunting, and except this one who has no fear. The bravest little fish. Look at her go. She doesn't quit. She's the cutest ever. So, oh gosh, sorry, I almost dropped the camera. That's kind of the update on the BETTA mahachai. It is not the fanciest of updates, but I think you guys would have enjoyed seeing these guys. Oh, see, all of them are starting to come out and swim around now more. They become much more comfortable. So I tend to try to keep these lights off unless I'm viewing them, because they do prefer that a lot more than very bright lights. But on that note, I'm gonna go back to cleaning the fish room because there's still a lot to do. It's looking a lot better, but still have a lot of cleaning. So I'll see you guys in the next video.